Hey everyone. Hi everyone. Just hang there. I'm just connecting to the private group. Hey everyone, welcome to your Saturday Live. You're with me for 20 to 30 minutes, and I'm going to give you some powerful insights today around getting them hooked on your talk, getting them hooked. Questions. Questions are what we need in our talk because questions can make your audience hang onto every word. We need to use questions to paint a picture and to engage your audience. So we have different kinds of questions, and I'm going to cover those today. So hang in here. Hi, welcome. Hang in, ask questions. I am your public speaking success coach. I want you to be on the bigger stages in the right rooms. I want you to own the stage, and that's what I'm here for. I've been in this game for 20 years now. I've been a professional paid speaker, a Fed income speaker, I'd say a little over 10 years. I dabbled. I was a speaker without even knowing I was a speaker, but I was nervous and reserved, and I was scared to share my opinion. And I would quite literally, hey, welcome, I'd give people my idea, but I would package it as someone else's idea or something that I'd read or heard. And people kept saying, oh my God, that's amazing. That's profound. Where does that come from? I need to know more. And I wouldn't dare tell them that it was my idea, even when they said they liked it, because I was too scared that if I did, then they'd suddenly go, it doesn't have credibility. It can't mean anything anymore. But here I am now taking the bigger stages, speaking from the speaking platforms and sharing my thoughts and opinions boldly, not arrogantly, not egotistically, but with the mission and the intention of this might serve someone, so let me share it. And I have that. Don't you have that sometimes where you think, oh, I'm not sure if I should share that. That might contradict the wisdom or the knowledge in the room. That might contradict the leadership style here. People aren't ready for this. I know as a speaker, I often come up with thoughts like, I don't know if I should share this. I might be rocking the boat. But I know my ultimate thought is, but this could serve someone. So this is the place that we come from as speakers, and we must use questions in our talks to paint a picture and engage our audience. And even if you're not doing a talk, a public speaking talk on a big stage or a stage, if you're going into meetings and you're running meetings and you're delivering information or points or topics, questions, use them straight away. It has a beautiful quality of allowing your audience to feel like you're interested in them, that you're there for them, and that you are ready to answer their questions, to serve them, that you're not up there just wanting to look like you're a professional, like you're the one in the know. You're not up there trying to be significant. Questions straight away are really important. We don't always have to open with a question, but there are definitely 100% times, different scenarios, different speaking situations in which opening with a question will allow your audience to be engaged immediately. So it's, even if it's not a question, it's an interesting story that just grabs their attention, or an interesting fact. So direct questions, those questions that are direct to your audience. They get your audience engaged in your talk in a personal way versus an audience sitting back and being passive and just letting you be like the television for them. We don't want to be the television. We don't want our audience switching off and just going on the journey in a passive way. We want them to get the teachings and we want to cause them transformation. So it's really, really important that we use questions throughout our talk, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I'll give you examples of different kinds of questions and where to place them. So questions are great to break the ice and to get your audience, so that could just be a meeting or a workshop, break the ice and get them, your audience, your listeners, physically involved. We need to use direct questions that require a response, and that will get them completely engaged. That's one example. And so that what that is, for example, it's a show of hands, a quick verbal reply, or even a brief discussion with their neighbor. And we see this happening in workshops such as Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, and etc. Then we have hypothetical questions, and hypothetical questions are the ones that we ask and we are not expecting the audience to respond. And in fact, they know that they're responding to themselves in their own head. They know that they don't have to answer out loud. Not to say that some people don't, some people do. And then we just keep talking. Hypothetical questions invite our audience to imagine something. Imagine a scenario, imagine what it's like for them, or imagine what they would answer. And this assists them to visualize your message and see themselves within the story or the journey or the learnings or the teachings, the outcomes that you're creating for them, the journey you're taking them on from A to B to Z. So what would it be like if every time you spoke, your audience hung on every word? What would it be like? So imagine if you could ask one question to your audience that would reveal everything you needed to know about your audience. What question would you ask them? I'll say that again. Imagine if you could ask your audience one question that would get them engaged, and it would reveal where they're at. If it would give you everything you needed to know about them, like, have I got the right people in the room? Are you listening? Are you engaged? Are you ready? Is your energy up? These are all aspects of our audience that we need before we begin. So what question would you ask? What question would it be? Please write it in the comments. I'd love to hear. What question would it be? So if you're opening up, and maybe it's not in your opening, but if you're opening up with a question and you need your audience engaged or high energy, what would you ask them? And what might change if you started each conversation by asking, hey, how can I best support you today? Hi, everyone. I just want to ask you a quick question. How might I best serve you today? So what might change? I know you might be giving a keynote, but just know that even though it's a keynote, we are on a mission and we can ask an opening question. Yes, a keynote is not a workshop. Yes, it is more passive than other styles of talks, but we must engage the audience. And if you don't have the audience, you're at a fail. You're starting dead. You're starting with a deadpan audience. So what might change if you started each conversation with, how can I best support you today? And you'll get people who'll put their hand up and you'll say, I'm going to take 3 people, 3 questions. And you will talk about that for a moment. And you might even say, is this right? Is that right? Is that what you need for me to support you today? And you respond to that. So let me give you some key points for audience engagement through questions. I'm going to give you some key points, just having a look to see if there's anyone asking anything here. Sometimes it doesn't show on Facebook, but hey, We will persevere, and I will answer your questions otherwise later. So you want to set the tone from the very beginning, involving your audience. Yes, we know that. You want to use questions that make them directly stop and think, immediately stop and think, I should say. We know that. And we want them to reflect on their very own experience or engage with you directly. So I'm just going to hang up on a phone call. Awesome. So I'm going to give you some examples of questions, and I'm not going to start with opening questions. I'll give you those in a moment, but just let's start very simple. Some examples are some that you already know, which is yes or yes. So you've just made a statement. It's a fact. You want them to agree with you. So you ask yes or yes, because that in itself is a teaching moment. It's a teaching moment. Yes or yes. The answer is yes. Or are you willing to come on a journey with me? And then you wait and let them nod and answer. Now you've just raised the energy. You've just raised the level of engagement. You've just shaken them, waken them up. And you can say, as you're talking, are you still with me? Are you still with me? Because sometimes people drift off, and we see that when you're a good speaker, you read your audience, and you will need to ask these sort of questions. And then you might ask something like, say, you already have all the answers inside of you, don't you? Because you want them to know that you're not just telling them how it goes. You want them to look for themselves, but you're saying it in a way that you put them into their own personal leadership. You're commanding, you're calling them into their own personal leadership. Such a powerful question. I'll say it again. You already have all the answers inside of you, don't you? And here's a tip. These questions, like I say, call your audience into the conversation, into the story, the learnings, so that they feel like that they're more than just passive listeners. They're engaging with the content in a personal way, in their mind, through their body, in their heart. So we can make statements as well. They're not questions, they're statements, but they're engaging. So we can say things like, and remember, we're reading the room. We can say, come on, meaning like same as the question, are you on the journey with me? And if you feel like you're losing them, come on. Or it's like saying, come on, this matters. Are you listening? Do the work. But we're not criticizing. We're just saying, come on, we're encouraging, we're the coach. Or statements such as, think about this for a moment. Or, if you're going to say it first, think about that for a moment. So a tip is that statements create an instant connection, and they cause your audience to feel like they're a part of the conversation. Again, not passive listeners. So again, it's a call to action. And then we have one of my favorites are rhetorical questions, and especially because I do a lot of keynotes. And a lot of the keynotes that I do not want workshop style. They want the audience to be listening. They want a profound and moving, inspirational, transformational talk. Now, if I'm going to be transformational, if you're going to be transformational, you must ask questions, and you must definitely include rhetorical questions, or at least one rhetorical question, such as, don't you already know this? How many of you understand? And you just keep talking. Can you imagine? How different would this be? What's one challenge you face when trying to connect? What's one challenge you've faced with this? So when you're trying to connect with your audience, and if you're feeling like you're not really connecting, ask them rhetorical questions to start with, because if they're disengaged and they're not really connecting, they're not going to give you those direct answers They're not going to put their hand up or say yes, or maybe one or two will, and it will impact the entire room because people will turn around and see, or they'll hear that there's low engagement. So if you have low engagement, you want to have rhetorical questions straight away. So you can ask, what's one challenge you faced? And then you keep talking. How do you feel? How do you feel? Is another one. So you say a statement and then you say, how does that make you feel? Or how do you feel right now? Or what are you thinking? But you're not stopping for an answer. You're not stopping for an answer. Have you ever felt like that? Do you ever feel like this? And you keep talking. But there's enough moment in there for them to know the answer. The answer will populate straight away for them just hanging up another call. All right, great. What if I told you? That's what you can say as well. What if I told you? And then you go into your statement. What if I told you? Or can you recall a time when this happened to you? That's another one. So here's the tip. Choose rhetorical questions that are relevant to your topic, resonate with common experiences of your audiences when you have a low engagement audience, or when you are not supposed to have an interactive talk. You are the entertainment, when you're the entertainment. So rhetorical questions spark reflection, and they invite your audience to think a little more deeply and explore ideas rather than just give a yes or no answer. So they're really powerful. And these questions encourage your audience to engage mentally and emotionally with your message. So let's now talk about, actually I better just check for messages down here. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Hope you're enjoying. Pop it in the comments. What are you taking out of the talk so far? Have you learnt something new? Has this just anchored in something that you already knew? Just engage with me and let me know. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. So let's talk about building verbal cues. Verbal cues are things like, stay with me, are you still with me? And they're simple yet powerful. We hit on these a little bit. They keep your audience attentive and they show them that you, this is why they're important, are aware of their energy and focus. So remember, I said things like, stay with me, are you with me? Come on, let's do this. Keep going. You've got this. We're in this together. Remember, we're here for a reason. These are all beautiful verbal cues, prompts, to bring everyone back when you sense they might be drifting or disengaged. And we need them. And you know what's beautiful about them? And these are the ones that so few speakers use, and I think it's a real missing, and I think it's what my superpower is. I think it's why I keep getting booked to speak and booked back to speak, because it shows that you really, really care. It shows that you really care. And your audience need to know that you really care, especially when they're disengaged, especially when they're needing a bit of a boost, a bit of a pep up, a bit of an energy lift. When we do that, they know that we know and we care and we want them on the journey and we want them engaged for them. We have direct questions, and these involve the audience in a really powerful way when you have an audience that are already engaged. And the reason being is because these questions invite a response, either verbally or through a simple gesture such as raising hands. And this kind of interaction creates a dynamic, lively atmosphere. So if you want to take your audience on a journey and get them really pumped, you will then bring in direct questions after rhetorical questions and after verbal cues. You will ask direct questions unless they're already engaged and you get them pumped straight away. So by show of hands, how many of you experienced this before? Fantastic. I can see it's most of the room. Great. Or by show of hands, who's experienced this before? Fantastic. I can see you haven't, so I'm really excited to teach you about that today. Or yes or yes. Let me hear you say yes if you're with me. So these are direct questions. Or by show of hands, how many of you understand? Great, lower your hands. By show of hands, how many of you don't understand? Okay, and then you know what to talk about. Or it could be, a direct question could be, I need to feel your energy. Are you happy to just stand up for a moment and shake it off and be in the room? You came here for a reason. Am I right? Yes? Yes? So what you've got is they're standing up, they're shaking it off, they're putting their hand up, and they're saying yes. You have just moved a mammoth amount of energy through their body. They're now way more engaged. Or the classic, turn to the person next to you and ask them. And now you've got them totally doing the work. And they love it because now it feels like it's a little workshopy. You can't do it in most keynotes, but it's beautiful to ask them to turn to the next person and ask them or tell them. Anthony Robbins does this. He asks you to turn to the next person, the person next to you, and say, I own you. And if you don't know what that means, you need to find out. It's a good one. Or you can say, all right, everyone, on a scale of 1 to 10, by show of hands, 1 to 10. One can get a little more complicated, but sometimes necessary. So tip, use your tone of voice to add emphasis like I just did, and then just create that high energy vibe, that passion, that enthusiasm, a sense of urgency or excitement when asking these questions. So it can be, so is it yes or yes? Or by show of hands, come on, by show of hands. Like, you can do all of that, but you must read your audience, because can you imagine doing that and they're just looking at you going, what the fuck? Then you're fucked. All right, so close. Let's talk about that. And if you got offended with my swearing, it's very rare, but I usually will drop one F-bomb just for impact, just to show you I'm all about authenticity and that we have to be ourselves. So, hang in there with me. Hang in there with me. It'll all be all right. So number 6, look, even my Muslim ladies understand. All right, number 6, let's close. Number 6, I'm telling you, because we're up to the 6th point. Your close. You want to close with a thought-provoking question. You want to end your talk with a question that leaves your audience thinking and feeling connected to your message. And this is how we get transformation. This is how we keep the audience in the conversation long after we stop talking. And they carry it and reflect on it. That's what we want. So it's important. Now, an example of a closing question could be, so next time you're in a conversation, what question will you ask to truly engage and connect with the other person? That could be my closing question. And then, of course, for those of you who have worked with me, if you're a professional speaker, you know that the close isn't the end of the talk. The close is sort of like how you wrap the talk in a bow and give it as a gift. And then you have final thoughts. And in your final thoughts is your actual CTA, call to action. It's what you want to emphasize from your heart to their heart. You want to leave the audience with something profound and powerful. And it's also here in your final thoughts that you might say something that you would never ask the audience of normally. it's kind of like an adjunct, so you get away with it, if you know what I mean. And it's a way of saying something that now you've built like, know, and trust, that you can ask this of your audience, or you can let them know this. You can go to that place that might be a bit provocative or advocaty or pushy or opinionated or emotional. You get to do that here. This is where we do it. So leave your audience with a question that lingers in their minds, making them think longer after you've finished your talk. And TEDx, if you're going to be a TEDx speaker, 1,000,000% you have to understand your close, and you have to understand final thoughts and which kind of question goes into each of these. So important, because they build on each other, they lead up, and you want the TEDx, John, when I was in conversation with John, and he explained to me, pulled back the veil and explained to me what they're looking for so that I could talk to you much better about this. He said, you must create the ripple-on effect. So like I said, it's got to be something that they carry with them and reflect on later. So it's more than, so in your close, it's like a call to action, but in the final thoughts, it's your call to action. It's your personal message that you want them to know. It's the heart and the guts of it. You know, it's that big, big thing that you want to just plant in them and have them carry with them and reflect on later, and for them to go and have those ripple on conversations with other people. This final question should be thought-provoking. That is what I'm saying. It's thought-provoking. It absolutely connects to your core message, your big idea. It is your big idea, your bold, hairy, audacious big idea. And I'm going to say, if you don't do that, you fail to drop the mic. And if you don't do that, you fail to engage the audience. You had them all the way along. Do you know the amount of times and I've been so engaged and love speakers, and then you get to the end and it's like, wow, that was a big letdown. A really big letdown. Thank you. Welcome. And an example of a reflective closing question. So for today, it could be, what questions will you ask next time that could make all the difference in your connection with others? And if you didn't ask, would have you fail at being a public speaker? What question will you ask next time in your talk that could make all the difference in you connecting with your audience? That otherwise, if you didn't ask, you would just fall flat at the end of your talk. You would fail your audience. You would fail yourself in your mission to deliver your big idea, and you would fail to drop the mic. What question will you ask in your final thoughts? So for those of you writing a talk at the moment, that is going to be a profound question. And if you coach with me, if you work with me, if you coach with me, if I'm coaching you, these are how I prompt you in writing your keynote. Not only do I understand the structure, which questions to ask, I prompt you so that you get right to the heart of your message, your big idea. So questions are more than just fillers in speech. I've heard this said before. They are not fillers in speech, although I know speakers that have used them when okay, so I've done some training, and they said, if you can't think of what to say, or if you forget your way in a talk, just ask a question. But you know, everything's energy. Everything is energy. And if you're just winging your way through, what do you think your audience feels like you're doing? Winging your way through. So, questions are tools that create engagement, foster connection. Invite your audience to join the conversation. Get them out of being a passive viewer. You are not the TV. You are not just entertainment. Even when you're being booked to be the entertainment, you have a responsibility as a speaker. So by mastering the art of asking the right questions at the right time, you will transform your talk into a profoundly memorable experience that creates those TEDx follow-on ripple conversations, as John Yo says. So today, I've actually done a good job with my guest talk today. I haven't gone over time, which is fantastic. I love that. I want to know if there are any questions before I head off for the weekend. And otherwise, answer that last question. What question will you ask next time that will make all the difference in your final thoughts of your presentation or your talk? Hey, thanks for being here. I'm Fer Whale, your public speaking success coach. If you're not Instaland, if you're not already inside the Facebook private group, come on over to Facebook, look for She Talks, Own the Stage. You'll find me. The colors are the same. It's the blue, the pink, and the aqua and the white. And you'll see that we're a very active group. I drop a lot of valuable assets, public speaking assets inside the group. You get a lot of support. And guess what? I have something to tell you both. I have just started up a meetup group again by popular demand. Look, I stopped for some years. I didn't think it was necessary. I was busy running workshops and coaching. And now I have people asking nonstop. So thank you for asking. I'm starting a meetup group. I'm pretty sure I'll run them once a month. And if you head over to Meetup, you'll find it. She Talks, Own the Stage. Join and you'll hear about the events. And they're going to be the kind of events where you will get to talk. You'll have an opportunity to talk, to be known as a speaker, to access the wisdom in the room. I will be speaking. I will put other speakers on, the ones that I've trained and know have the capacity to deliver something of value, especially the women who've been through the She Talks Speakers Lab training. They have gone from A to Z and were put on a big stage. And that's coming up again next year. So if anyone wants to join the She Talks Speakers Lab, it is a 3-month training program, once a week in person, full day workshop. And then it's you get coaching during the week. It's intensive. It will just, it's polishing the diamond. You will become the most fabulous speaker. You'll be able to take the TEDx stage like that afterwards. Speakers have gone through, now speak with John Demartini on the big stage, take the TEDx stages. They're authors. There are the names of people they speak with, and they're running their own workshops now. Amazing, 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 amazing things that these women are doing. And I work with 7 of you. I would love to work with 7 women next year in 2025, in June, July, August. So it's a winter, starts in winter. You know, we all need something to do in winter. June, July, August. And then you get on the big stage at the end of August, in September. Actually, I was thinking of moving it forward because it really is cold for people in June. So we might move it to July and do July, August, September and get you on the stage in October. We'll see. Or even move it forward one more. We'll see. All right, ladies, that's it. Here's to your every success. May you own whichever stage you're getting on next. Pop into the group. Let us know where you're speaking next. Invite us. Let us support you as your audience, as your crowd. Let us know which events we should be attending. If something's coming up and you think it would benefit the women in the group, please let us know. If you need a talk title, my team are hanging here, waiting. They're just waiting here to turn your topic into a talk title, we can do that, a beautiful sensational tabloid talk title. And what else do we do inside of the group? Just check the guides. All right, everyone, go be amazing this weekend and drop in questions at any time and I will answer those for you. Fabulous to be here with you. I want to know, what is going to be your final thoughts question? I'll leave you with that. All right, everyone, have a great one. I'll see you later.